Hi there. If you're listening to this message is specifically for you.
Thank you for listening to The Cob. I'm Sharan and I co host this with Sudeep.
We've been at it for some time, and we really want to thank you from the bottom of our heart for listening to us and making us reach thus far.
And we'd love to know a lot more about you and what you would like to hear from us.
And hence, please take just 2 minutes of your time and fill this form. The links are in the comments or in the show notes. It will help us recognize who you are and also get your expectations so that we can craft the podcast content to satisfy those expectations.
Welcome to COB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvan Raghavan.
So, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic that Sharan has picked up for our podcast is VC versus marketeers model of brand building. The reason I find this intriguing is that I never knew that VCs also believe in brand building. Yeah, I thought VCs believe in valuation building.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but okay, we'll go with what Sharon thinks is the right topic for today. So it is venture capitalists versus Sharon.
Versus us.
Well, because you are on the dock, so it is versus Sharon. So let's see who wins. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay. So why did you pick this topic? What do you want to tell our listeners about this one?
So, I've been working with a lot of the new age companies, new age brands.
Hmm.
And when I interact with their marketing team and even the agencies,
Hmm.
I hear a lot of them discuss the term performance marketing as the only form of marketing that they indulge in.
Hmm.
And that is something I wanted to correct because this I see is not just with my clients. It's obviously a pretty widespread phenomenon. And this is largely being driven by the valuation seeking VCs and the pressure that the founders come under
Okay.
when the VC money comes in and the pressure for revenue increases. And it is all performance, performance, performance marketing.
Hmm.
And therefore, the traditional way of marketing that you and I learned is something that's not taught or practiced largely in today's time.
Hmm.
So I thought we should bring back the attention to that. If you remember, say, I think 2012, 2013, I
Mm-hmm.
think we both were in marketing at Cadbury at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And the Facebook team, the Google teams in India used to come to our office pretty often and tell us how performance marketing is going to change our lives.
Hmm.
And the whole point was that performance marketing was going to be measurable.
Hmm.
And the promise of performance marketing was that it would focus on delivering measurable results, deliver campaigns which would be attributable to sales
Hmm.
and give us clicks and lead counts. And they would take care of the execution and therefore make our lives a lot easier.
Hmm.
And why would a life become easier? Is because, I mean, for years on end, marketers have lived by the point that they're not able to pinpoint what effect they're having on immediate sales.
Hmm.
And when these guys came in, when performance marketing came about, it almost seemed like marketers finally have a way to prove their worth to businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's how it was marketed to the marketers. And
Hmm.
this, and therefore, obviously, we were excited. We went in, and so did pretty much marketers around the world. And this has gone to a point where this performance marketing has started to overshadow the brand building activities.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do not did not realize at that point was that this marketing was not exactly brand building marketing, it was a sales conversion campaign. This approach of prioritizing performance marketing is what's led to so many of the VC backed brands to be loss leaders who buy sales instead of earning it.
See, few points that I thought our listeners might have. Since we keep saying that the purpose of marketing finally is to create sales, performance marketing possibly should be the only way of marketing.
Hmm.
Even when we were doing traditional marketing, we always wanted some kind of attribution,
Hmm.
and we wanted it to be known as performance marketing, right?
Right.
I think the second point also is that when you speak about VCs wanting to see the return on their money,
Hmm.
and hence a lot of VC fundy companies prioritizing performance marketing, there is a stage till which that is possibly the only way they should market before they start considering any other way. Or we have seen a lot of bad examples where most of them are loss leaders. Performance marketing needn't be just about making losses, right?
Absolutely. And I think this whole confusion comes from the extremist point of view.
Hmm.
And today in this world, we're about this or that. It's even
Hmm.
politics. Are you right wing, left wing? Are you Biden? Are you Trump? Are you Modi? Are you Congress? These
Hmm.
are questions people love asking because it's easy to categorize people.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, marketers have fallen into the same trap.
Hmm.
Is it performance marketing or brand building?
Hmm.
That really isn't the question, because the trade off there is that, are you going to give me long term notional value, or are you going to give me immediate revenue that performance marketing promises?
Hmm.
When this is the question that is posed, brand building has no chance. Who is going to say no to immediate revenue?
Hmm.
Because when the long term notional benefits are pitched against immediate revenue,
Hmm.
obviously brand building loses out. And that's what's happened in most of the businesses.
Hmm.
Now, look at the sale itself as a funnel, right?
Okay.
Now, at the bottom of the funnel is where people are ready to buy. That's where the conversion happens.
Yeah.
Now, think of it as the point of sale. Now, at the point of sale, when a person is decided to make a purchase in that category,
Hmm.
what can you tell them to create awareness? And the more you keep doing it, the more you're going to lose money, because there are so many people, so many brands at that point trying to convince the same person of the same thing, basically to buy their brand.
Yeah.
And most of the time, not able to communicate their true differentiation because they've not spent time on it.
Hmm.
Now, think of a person walking into a store. They've decided to buy, say, a detergent,
Okay.
and you have launched India's greenest detergent powder or
Hmm.
detergent liquid.
Hmm.
Now, this person has walked into a store looking to buy Surf detergent powder.
Hmm.
Now, at that point, can you tell the person detergent liquid is better? Detergents are harmful to the environment, and I make the most eco friendly detergent in the liquid form, which also washes your clothes better.
Hmm.
But the person has walked into the store to buy Surf.
Hmm.
He or she does not have the time to listen to your narrative.
Hmm.
What are they going to do? Grab a bag of Surf. The only thing that they will listen to at that point is to say, Surf is 100 rupees, I am 80 rupees. My MRP is 120 rupees, but I'm giving it to you at 80 rupees.
Hmm.
And that is your discount communication.
Hmm.
At that point, at the point of sale, the discount conversation works because it is a monetary transaction.
Hmm.
What if you kept doing this all the time? Would anybody come to know that you have made India's most eco friendly detergent liquid? No,
Yeah. They won't.
that's exactly what's happening. But
Hmm.
think of the opposite. Go to the top of the funnel.
Hmm.
Even before the person walks into the store, if they know that detergent liquids are better than detergent powder
Hmm.
and they are more eco friendly, they keep your washing machines cleaner, they are better at stain removal, and they do not fade your clothes like powder detergents do. And then at the store, you're able to tell them, I am the green detergent liquid and you need to buy me.
Hmm.
I may be 20 rupees more expensive, but I do a far better job. How will the conversion work then?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's the difference.
Each stage of the sale provides an opportunity to do marketing of different kind.
Absolutely.
And if you are comparing the, for example, I'm 20 rupees lesser conversation to performance marketing.
Exactly.
So therefore, you're already predisposed. So hence, this is what will convert you. If you're not predisposed and you're already far from the sale, that is where the brand building can help you create some kind of attitude change.
Exactly.
Okay, fair.
And the biggest myth also is that people believe performance marketing is something that's new to marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And this also leads to the other assumption that performance marketing happens only on digital.
Okay.
And there is a far greater belief, which actually stems this extremism, performance marketing or brand building conversation, because people believe performance marketing cannot serve the larger brand agenda.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
We've always done performance marketing,
Hmm.
which any marketing that drives people to take immediate and measurable action by the brand is performance marketing.
Hmm.
And you and I have always done it. Just that we used to call it sales promotion at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
Sales promotion online becomes performance marketing.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. I had read this somewhere. There are a lot of proponents of performance marketing, and they go by the name of, for example, growth marketers.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of craze around growth marketing, growth hacking. And because it has become growth, everybody wants growth, right?
exactly.
So therefore, don't you feel that the young marketers will have this dilemma that if performance marketing drives growth, what does brand building drive? And how do they solve this catch 22 or the dilemma that might face them? What would you say to them?
It's about not brand building, not driving growth.
Hmm.
Brand building can also drive growth. In fact, brand building must drive growth.
Hmm.
Just that brand building deliverance on growth might not be immediately measurable.
Yeah.
And performance marketing might drive growth, but that comes at a cost.
Yeah.
Marketing enables transactions, does not build relationship with the consumer, does with the
Hmm.
customer, does
Hmm.
not leave a lasting engagement. I do not mean having a CRM guy call up the customer asking for Amazon reviews. That's not what I call engagement.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
called affinity. People
Hmm.
building the affinity. And I also think a lot of the problem comes from people not able to differentiate what kind of activities are performance marketing and what kind of activities are brand building activity marketing.
Hmm. Hmm. And now I go back to what you were earlier saying,
Hmm,
that performance marketing is not new.
hmm,
It has been done in the past,
hmm.
right? Let's recount some of those examples to make sure that listeners understand what we are talking about.
Right.
So when you run a Daag Achhe Hain campaign on TV,
Hmm.
what kind of marketing is that?
Brand building,
Brand
because
building.
it is aimed at building memory structures, is aimed at building awareness, and if you want a simpler word, remembrance with the consumer.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
let me turn that around. Now, the same campaign, if there is an offer of a Vim bar free with Surf Excel,
Hmm.
what would that make it?
That ideally should be performance marketing then.
Exactly.
Hmm. Interesting.
So TV can also be a performance marketing, right?
Yeah. So therefore, in this performance marketing now,
Hmm.
you will find a problem of attribution. That how many people actually saw this and bought the product
Hmm.
versus how many discovered the product on the shop and bought it on their own.
Right.
Yeah.
There would be attribution, but look at the larger goal of the campaign
Hmm.
is to move your stock, give a temporary, or not, hopefully not temporary, give a lift to sales
Hmm.
and drive trials.
Yeah.
Now, are they achieving it? Are they driving an immediate call to action saying offer until stocks last on TV,
Hmm.
online? They are. And if you can measure it by the amount of sale that's happening, yes, there would be multiple touch points, as would be on the digital platforms. So
Hmm.
multiple touch points do not necessarily erode attribution. It's about saying what are you spending money on. You will be able to look at your reach. And that
Fair,
itself will give you attribution to the number of sales you moved, number of units you've
fair.
sold.
Yeah. I think one more consideration, it just came to my mind when you were speaking about this one.
Mhm.
Another consideration which people should have to understand this concept even better is the fact that your purchase process is always online, offline, and offline, online.
Oh yes, we can do a whole other episode on that one.
You know, if we think that attribution is only about who used my code and purchased it here, then
Hmm.
you are looking at a very small percentage of attribution.
Exactly.
There are a lot of people who research offline, buy online, and vice versa, depending
Absolutely.
on what kind of category you're talking about.
And it might not even be research. It could
Yeah,
just be an experience of the brand online,
yeah,
and you remember to buy the product when you visit the store.
yeah,
It could be as
yeah.
simple as that. Because, and this is what was normal, and today, because you've taken the detour to D2C and digital marketing, today we call it omni-channel.
Thank you for listening to COB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvana Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's COBBCAST.net.
I was just reminded of a very interesting example.
Hmm.
Super Bowl
Hmm.
is considered a very, very expensive property.
Right.
It's like IPL is supposedly called the Super Bowl of
Yeah. India.
India.
Hmm.
Yeah, hopefully with the growth that IPL is seeing, sometime possibly Super Bowl will call the IPL of US. But so Super Bowl is considered very expensive property, and people use it to create an impact.
Right.
Yeah. So usually you find some of the most creative campaigns, etc. there. Most of them are brand building, equity building campaigns.
Hmm.
In 2022, Coinbase
Yeah.
ran an ad there where they just had a blank screen and a colorful QR code,
Right.
jumping on the screen, kind of going to one side, getting bounced off from there and going to the other side. And that's how it just kept moving here and there. Now tell me, is that brand building or is it performance marketing?
I'd call it performance marketing.
I would also think so. Good. Sahi jawab. So it is a very expensive performance marketing, but it is performance marketing.
A little bit of trivia on that. I'm not sure if you know.
Hmm.
The CEO of Coinbase had put that up on Twitter,
Hmm.
saying this is why it's better to source ideas internally than from agencies.
Hmm.
And then an agency had responded saying, this idea was there on slide number this and the presentation we made to you as a pitch.
Okay. Excellent. So
That's another
therefore,
topic for another episode about pitches and agencies.
pitches and agencies. Correct. Excellent. So therefore, what you're suggesting is that number one, uh, performance marketing, which is majorly around, usually done at the bottom of the funnel to create sales,
Right.
has been done in the past, although the mediums or the methods would be different,
Hmm.
but it serves a certain purpose,
Right.
while there is some other purpose that brand building is supposed to serve.
Yes. And it's not about doing either or. It's about finding ways to get both of them to work together.
Okay.
Feed the funnel, convert the funnel, than about
Yeah.
just focusing on converting the funnel.
Okay. So what you're saying is brand building feeds the funnel
Yeah.
and performance marketing converts the funnel.
Yes.
Interesting. And so therefore, hmm, if your feed is inefficient,
Hmm.
your conversion will also be inefficient.
Absolutely. And if you have no feed at all, imagine
Hmm.
how bad your conversion is going to be.
And that's where the loss making comes from.
Exactly.
Okay. So therefore, conversely, if your feed starts becoming better, you get people who are more disposed to you, your conversion therefore becomes even more efficient.
Exactly. And that is why you see a lot of brands work out to be more profitable in their
Hmm.
conversion into performance marketing if they invest in their brand building. Basically, in one line, stronger brands benefit more from performance marketing.
Okay.
And the
Fair.
problem here is that people do not know how to measure stronger brands or how to measure what's happening on the brand building investments.
Correct. I was just about to come to that. So now that we have established that brand building is about feeding the funnel
Hmm.
and performance marketing is about converting the funnel, Now this kind of establishes a role for both.
Hmm.
One of the other things that possibly draws people to performance marketing is the fact that at least it is measurable,
Right.
even if it is inefficient.
Right.
Yeah. What would you say on the brand building front? How measurable can we make it? Is it even measurable? Is there a point to measure it?
It's absolutely measurable.
Mm-hmm.
Just that it's not as automated right now
Hmm.
as performance marketing is. And you'd need to figure out ways to measure your brand metrics. So, your brand building metrics should basically include two aspects: your
Hmm.
brand positioning and your four P's.
Yeah.
Now, your brand positioning includes your competitive advantage, the emotional attributes you're putting out there, your functional benefits, your experiential qualities. If you look back, this basically makes up the brand ladder that you've spoken about a couple of times on the show already.
Yeah.
And the four P's are product, place, price, and promotion. And you could include people in it for the five P's. But this would roughly make up the brand metric. This is what you need to measure for the brand.
Sure.
Now, how do you measure this brand equity? Now you know what to measure. How do you go
Hmm.
about measuring it? Now, there are four elements for any brand equity to be measured. And just for better remembrance, I call it the RMO, which is your awareness,
Hmm.
your regard, basically your preference, your affinity, meaning. Are people able to understand what your brand's offering and how unique is your brand?
Hmm.
If you put these four elements together, and all of these four will make up the emotions that drive consumer action. And if you know, if are you aware, that's actually the easiest to check.
Yeah.
Do people have affinity for your brand? Do people like your brand? Just because they know you doesn't mean they like you. Do they
Hmm.
like you? Do they understand what you're doing? And are you unique enough to drive action? For example, let's take a popular campaign, right? Cred.
Mm-hmm.
Were people aware of Cred after the campaigns? Yes. Did people like Cred as a brand, as a
Hmm.
product? I don't know.
Yeah.
Brand people would know it better.
Yeah. Possibly yes. Huh.
Did people understand what the brand was about? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Basically, if you were to measure that brand campaign,
Yeah.
it would, when they don't understand what you're about, obviously your uniqueness is not getting through. So your awareness and your affinity could be high, but your meaning and uniqueness could be low.
Correct. And but if I have to build upon that, Sharon, if the purpose of the campaign was to drive trials and just get people to search what is this bloody cred about,
Hmm.
I think then awareness and regard should be sufficient.
Absolutely. That's the campaign measurement.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the brand equity measurement. You need to
Fair.
tick all the four boxes for the brand.
Yeah.
And each of these brands may have unique linkages, saying
Hmm.
what's your positioning, what's your activation, what's the kind of equity you want to drive, and therefore, what are your financial metrics for it? All of
Hmm.
that could be different.
Hmm.
But if you can establish these four, you largely set. And
Sure.
I think we've done a very lengthy episode which you led about measuring what you treasure.
Yeah.
And I go back to that. We've
Hmm.
referred to it in multiple episodes of ours. To say market research does not have to be expensive.
Hmm.
You can do it yourself,
Hmm.
especially at a startup stage.
Hmm.
As a founder, it's even more recommended that you do it on your own.
Hmm.
Get out there and run your surveys, ask people questions.
Fair.
And once you're able to measure your brand's equity and then match it to your financial results, that automatically starts bridging the gap of your understanding about how your brand is impacting financial performance.
Hmm. Hmm. Fair. Fair. So what you're saying is, while performance marketing obviously is measurable, brand marketing is also measurable. Brand building is also measurable.
Right.
In fact, I would also say that some part of it is also gotten automated. Now,
Hmm.
when you talk to a Google or a Facebook, they talk about BLS, which is brand lift survey.
Right.
It tries to measure the increase in your brand associations and the intention of purchase of consumers with regards to your brand.
Yes.
So it is a measure of brand equity and brand building, which some of these platforms have started to provide and can be used very well.
Right, I agree. But I would take that with a pinch of salt,
Mm-hmm.
because any data that's given to me by the platform that I spend money on,
Hmm.
I wouldn't believe straight up. Because it's not about saying they're fraud or anything, but yeah, incentives are not aligned, right? They are incentivized to get you to spend more money. Now, in the long term, yes, they would also benefit if I benefited monetarily and if my brand really did go up. But who thinks that long term anyway in cross company participations?
But to give credit, since we use those platforms,
Hmm.
in fact, I have been subjected to a number of the surveys that appear,
Hmm.
right? And you are invited to answer some questions,
Hmm.
quite simple questions,
Hmm.
and where they also ask for an explicit permission to send
Hmm.
you those questions, etc., etc. So it seems like they're alpha and beta, which is people exposed to the campaign and people not exposed to the campaign, that kind of a survey.
Hmm.
Since it is built into the algorithm, seems like it is something that they would definitely invest behind.
Hmm.
Number two, since it's just a platform which provides the reach to people,
Hmm.
the plan media plan as well as the creative is attributed to you,
Right.
and hence a significant part of the responsibility of creating or not creating any BLS difference
Hmm.
lies on you,
I agree.
right? And therefore I think, broadly, frankly, from my belief, I'm fairly convinced that it is a useful thing to do. Yeah. Whenever you're wanting to spend, uh, that is something that can be considered.
I understand why you'd say it's useful, because
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's wrong or not useful.
Hmm.
In the absence of better data, it is definitely useful,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't pick that as the only measure of how my brand is doing. I would go
Sure.
out and run my own service.
Sure. In fact, when we are talking about returns and measurement, I
Hmm.
was reminded of a very interesting example that I read
Hmm.
on Twitter.
Hmm.
This was posted by Arindam Paul from Atomberg Technologies,
Right.
Atomberg fans. So he speaks about, and this post was about performance marketing versus brand building.
Hmm.
And I think he was also trying to make a point about why should talk about brand building, etc. The example states that there is an ice cream shop, new ice cream shop that comes up uh,
Locality.
in a locality, in a particular town,
Hmm.
and in that town, people are not aware about the ice cream shop, right, yet.
Okay.
So now they employ two people,
Hmm.
two salesmen, to try and increase sales. Now, and they give both salesmen a pamphlet each with a QR code on it,
Hmm.
and it's a unique QR code for that salesman.
Okay.
So therefore there is attribution
Yeah.
which can be achieved via QR code,
Hmm.
unique QR code, and obviously when you're looking at that QR code and sales against them, so there is measurability.
Right.
Both things which are usually the one of the bugbears of marketers:
Attribution.
attribution and measurability, right? So
Right.
both solved by personalized QR code, and both are
Hmm.
sent off.
Hmm.
One of them takes the job seriously, goes to all the schools in the town, stands outside them. When the kids come out, educates them about the new ice cream shop and the wonderful things that they have, and hands them over the pamphlet saying that please go to this shop, and because you're going there via me, when you show them this QR code, you will get a discount.
Right.
The other one is a naughty one like you, Sharan, and he stands just outside the shop. Anybody who's entering the shop, he gives them a pamphlet and say that please take my pamphlet. When you go inside, you will get 10% discount. And now obviously nobody will refuse. Now that you're anyways entering, might as well get 10% discount.
Right.
Over a period of time, when the owner looks at all the QR codes that have come in, obviously the person who is standing just outside the shop, he has the major share of QR codes, and thereby he says that this guy is bloody effective,
Huh?
and the other guy has not been working at all, and he fires the other guy and hires two more, three more people of the second kind.
To
Yeah.
stand outside the store.
Not to stand outside the shore, but to give him measurable and attributable sales. Why measurement and predictability is happening. The problem with this is that these kind of people or this kind of marketing is discounting your sale.
Hmm.
You were anyways getting that sale, now you are bloody discounting it.
Right.
What the other guy was doing, that the other guy was working on top of the funnel, he was sending the crowd to the shop.
The guy who went to the school.
The guy who went to the school,
Right.
the guy who's standing outside the shop is doing bottom funnel work, and bottom funnel at the wrong place, because the boy actually is converting people who were anyways going to buy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so therefore a brand needs to be intelligent about when and where to apply
Hmm.
your bottom of the funnel marketing or performance marketing, and where to apply your brand building, and how to
Absolutely.
draw the balance between the two.
I think that's the perfect example, because if I can push that story a little further, you
ah,
say, let's say he employed five more people like the second guy,
ah,
and they were giving out these pamphlets for 10% discount, while the consumer or the shopper's 10% is still the same, but the employment of these five more people is not increased any traffic to the store.
hmm,
Therefore, their loss compounds. And that's exactly what's happening to the brands that are focusing just on performance marketing and
yeah,
measurability right now. And that's why these losses happen.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
And
And it is the VC who is funding these losses.
VC is also urging these losses.
Yeah. Okay.
And therefore, if you are serious about building your brand, and if you want to actually measure the impact of performance marketing,
Hmm.
measure it independently, have your own metric. And I think I'm going to link an Excel sheet along with this episode
Okay.
to put down nothing new, a sales promotion ROI calculator that I used when I was in ASM.
Okay.
I'm going to link that here, because
Fair.
unless you can measure the actual lift of sale that the promotion is contributed or the performance marketing is contributed, you cannot actually measure its efficacy. Just attribution does not work, because you need, okay, the only caveat for this is that you need a non-promoted period of sale
Hmm.
to measure what you've done in the promotion period. For
Hmm.
example, you have 2 months of, say, 10,000 rupee sales. You do a promotion, you do a discount, and you get to 20,000 rupee sales. Yes,
Hmm.
there will be a few advanced purchases, people stocking up and all that. Say you double your sales for the 2 months of the promo period.
Hmm.
Over the next 2 months, or even the next 4 months, what is the lift? Has your 10,000 gone down to 9,000, 8,000 in the coming months? Your pre-promotion trend, or has it dropped from 20 to, say, 12 and 14? If it's gone down to less than what your pre-promotion or pre-performance marketing campaign was, your campaign has actually resulted in a loss. If it has managed to jump the trend from 10 to, say, 12 or 14, that is your return
Okay.
on your performance marketing. Instead of just looking at number of clicks, number of conversion, what is my ROI as a blank metric, go back
Hmm.
to doing it the traditional way.
So, in fact, let me add to that. After having worked on multiple brands that are seasonal in nature,
Hmm.
quite often, Sharon, what happens is that if you are doing performance marketing or any kind of marketing at the onset of, say, high volume season,
Hmm.
you don't know how much volume, anyways, the seasonality would have driven,
Exactly.
and whether you are riding the wave or whether it is marketing creating the difference, and vice versa. If you're entering into a lean season,
Hmm.
anyways, you were supposed to get into lean season, right?
Right.
So, this used to puzzle me a lot until my first boss, Bhaskar Chaudhary, spoke to me about MAT,
Hmm.
yeah,
Right.
which is about 12-month MAT.
Right.
So, in any kind of seasonal business, it is, I will urge all our listeners to look at 12-month mats,
Explain
which
math,
rounds
please.
off. So, 12-month mat is, for example, if you're looking at your mat of March of 23,
MAT stands for
yeah,
monthly average trends,
yeah. So, moving average trend,
moving average trend. Sorry.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, therefore, what you're doing
Hmm.
is that you are, uh, you know, uh, calculating the average of last 12 months.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it is called 12-month mat.
Right.
So what you do is, if you're calculating it in April of 23,
Hmm.
at the start of April, so you have sales till March 23, right?
Hmm.
So from April 22
Hmm.
to March 23, is the mat for March 23.
Yeah.
Then the next month you take the sales from May of 22
Hmm.
to April of 23. Then the next month you take the sales from June of 22 to
May
May of
23.
23.
Right.
And that's how you keep doing a 12-month average,
Hmm.
and you look whether your 12-month average is moving up, remaining constant, or moving down.
Right.
What this does is, number one, it takes care of all kind of seasonalities, because over a period of 12 months everything gets evened out.
Hmm.
Number two, it tells you whether you are creating a sustained impact on your sales or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, and hence there is a good chance that you will be able to objectively evaluate
Hmm.
the the performance of your campaign.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. So I think this is very good. I, regardless of the fact that I did that episode measure what you treasure, today's chat gives me better clarity
I think we should
around both
link
these.
what link them, put in a sheet on math calculation also into the show notes
Sure,
there.
let's do that.
Hmm.
Let's do that. No, I think, but I'm happy that we had this chat.
Hmm.
It kind of puts brand building and performance marketing into perspective,
Right.
because one of the clearest articulation that I've heard, and specifically from you on this one, is brand building feeds into the funnel
Hmm.
and performance marketing converts the funnel.
Right.
And hence you need to be sure as to where you are applying what. If you only keep doing conversions, you will end up spending a lot of money and thereby could run into losses.
Right.
If you keep feeding the funnel well, which means if you keep doing brand building, your conversions keep becoming more efficient, and that makes sure that you don't over a period of time your marketing keeps becoming more and more efficient.
Right.
Yeah, we spoke about the fact that you don't need to look at both of them as a trade off. They are
Hmm.
supposed to complement each other.
Right.
Yeah. uh, then you spoke about specifically the fact that performance marketing is not new. It is something which has been attempted, done in the past also,
Hmm.
in the form of sales promotion, and hence marketers will always have a mix of brand building and performance marketing,
Exactly.
and we gave multiple examples of that kind. uh, and also you address the other side of the fact that while performance marketing is measurable and that's why it draws marketer towards it,
Hmm.
brand marketing is also measurable.
Exactly.
Yeah, so either you measure it via 4 P's or 5 P's like you said, or you measure it via ARMU, which is awareness, regard, meaning, and uniqueness.
Hmm.
Measurement on all four gives you a good handle on whether your brand is moving forward or not,
Hmm.
basis the campaigns or the marketing that you've done. And hence it is possible to measure brand equity, brand strength, or impact on brand building
Right.
basis the work that you've done.
Hmm.
And that's why companies like Google, etc., are also investing some amount of time in providing those measurement to people.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things that you also mentioned was you would urge all brands to have some kind of a measurement of your own,
Right.
even if not quantitative, some kind of qualitative measurement with specifically participation from the top management to
Hmm.
build their own conviction, to have their own understanding on this. Yeah.
Right.
uh, and last but not the least, you urged everybody to therefore think of this in a balanced manner and not burn away all the VC money that they get into just producing immediate short term sales uh, for the brand. Look at whether any of the work that you've done, whether it is sales promotion or brand building, whether that has created a sustainable impact on brand sales or not.
Right.
And that's why you possibly promised two things to our listeners. One of them was the one of your older calculators about effectiveness or ROI of a sales promotion from your sales days,
Right.
and a simple chart that allows them to calculate a mat for their brand,
Exactly.
so that they could even out the seasonality and see whether the campaign is moving brand in the right direction or not.
Yes, sir. That's a
Yeah,
perfect summary.
excellent. So this was good, Sharon. Hopefully, we would have cleared some amount of doubts of our listeners on this one, and should any of them have any kind of doubts anymore, I'm sure you will be very happy to respond to them if they put anything in their comments or write to us on our YouTube channel. We'll be very happy to
Absolutely.
respond.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Sharan.
Thank you, Sudeep.
Thank you for listening to COB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvana Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net. That's COBBCAST.net.